you do a top-down with a bottom-up, you'll use your VAT returns. You will not work with cash flow numbers. Okay, and then you're also going to see is that you're now going to calculate the efficiency rate. And remember, I showed you in the presentation that we did how you do the efficiency rate. So it's in this case it's just there's the effective rate. VAT is a percentage of final. Oh, this is what we just discussed, and then this is then just what is the percentage change, the annual percentage change in that effective VAT rate. And then this one is then your C efficiency factor. Now, can you see is that the C efficiency factor increased from 45% to 56%. And we know it's partly because of a policy change. And unless you've got more information to see what was the impact of the policy change, you can't separate what has happened to the efficiency factor in your collections, because C efficiency includes both, the impact of both. And like I said on the example that I've shown you, I told you how you can calculate your C efficiency factor. So it's just your VAT that you collected divided by your final consumption times your VAT rate, and then you get your C efficiency factor. So what you want to have this C efficiency factor as close as possible to 100. Because anything away from 100 is actually a gap. It's actually your gap. Okay, and then you also want to see is because you want to see how much does your C efficiency factor explain the changes that's happening to your total VAT take. So you're just also going to do the percentage change in your C efficiency. And now you want to work out, but how much was the revenue that I forgone? So you're now going to look on the potential of your VAT on final consumption. That's your uniform rate. If I've applied the rate to my total base with no policy gaps and no compliance gaps, how much would my revenue be? And the difference between that you've collected and that your potential VAT or your uniform rate is then your tax gap. And like I said, it's your foregone policy plus your compliance gap. And then your potential VAT is then you just apply your uniform rate to your total consumption, and you say, if I have taxed my total consumption in the economy, what would have been my potential VAT rate? So that gross domestic product is this that we've used, and the VAT percentage change. So if we go to the graph, I think the graph will now also make more sense. I showed it to you when we did the presentation. So we just say is that if we look for each year, the dots that you see here is the VAT ratio. So that is VAT as a percentage of consumption. And then if you look at on the annual percentage changes, and now you can see is that we've worked out what is the consumption ratio, consumption as a percentage of GDP, and the annual percentage changes. So now you can see is how this is calculated to actually, like in 2019, the consumption ratio actually declined. But we did see a very good increase in the total VAT take. So it was mainly explained by the C efficiency ratio. Remember, policy and compliance. In this case, we saw a decline in the consumption ratio and in the C efficiency ratio. And that was in 2020, and you can explain that. It's not that you can't explain it, because that was the pandemic years. And then we see a recovery. And the recovery after the pandemic years were mainly in C efficiency. I think there was a slight decline in the consumption ratio. And then, like I've explained to you, here you can see there's a plus, but almost no efficiency gains. And then here we see a decline in consumption and an increase in the efficiency ratio. Okay, so this is just how you can do the C efficiency ratio for value-added tax. And this is, like I said, limited to a top-down approach. And we've also now heard some comments on the limitations and how you need to look at this. And this is just what I've now talk to you about. I've just summarized it in the paragraph there, so I think you can just go through it and then just to make sure that you understand what the graph is saying to you and how the spreadsheet is put together. And I would strongly suggest that if you've got more time and you've got, this is how the paper will also tell you how to go about to calculate it. But if you want to refine it with more information and with more on how exactly your VAT system works, nothing prevents you from refining the calculations so that you're more able to actually get more information out of this technique than what we've now done here on a macro scale. Okay, are there any questions? Do you think it will be useful? Yes.
Yeah, I think it's particularly useful because I think in most African countries, the nominal rate would be quite high, like 15%, CIE 25%, but normally the effective tax rate, if we were to calculate it, is low, which speaks to the issue of the tax expenditures and also the compliance. I think the compliance is also talked of in terms of the various types of clients and also in terms of the informal sector, largely informalized sectors, which are currently very topical issues in taxation. So I think effective tax rate is very important. And also measuring the, I think the efficiency in collections. I think there's talk now issue of automation. So the question, I think what's probably asked is, many revenue authorities also implement automation methods to their systems, VAT, maybe CIT, but the question is how efficient are they in terms of our collections? So I think
yes. Oh, thank you. Because this was also very important observation. So what the gentleman says is that it's very important to look at your effective tax rate, to know what is your effective VAT rate, and to know how that changes, and also then to know what's causing those changes. Have I captured your essence? So this is already telling you a story that if you don't do this analysis, you won't have it. And like I said, is that if you want to refine your base better, you are able to do that. If you want to see what is your VAT-C efficiency on your VAT on imports, you could also do that if you want to refine your data. You must remember this is just the framework or the technique, but how you're going to populate it and how you're going to use it and how you're going to utilize it to actually to make your point. So if you've got, like he said, on your informal sector, you should have some information on your informal sector. So you could then work it into this framework and say, well, if we can get the informal sector formalized, we might increase the effective tax rate to this amount. But I mean, you will need that information. It won't be readily available and then you can just plot it here. You will have to go and do some work on your informal sector data or your macroeconomic data in that case, and also work with your tax returns. I think if you can add some information on your tax returns, you should be able to calculate your revenue foregone much more precisely. You will be able to refine your tax gap much better. Okay, any more? Can we hear anything from our VAT expert? Quentin? No comments. Okay, so okay, let's see if you're going to do it with your country data. And if you would be able to tell me what your effective, like this gentleman says, it's important to know what your effective tax rates and then to quantify that gap if you are going to apply a uniform rate to your base and to see how much revenue are foregone due to policy proposals and how much are gone through compliance gap. If you do that triangle where you look at your compliance gap separately and at your policy gaps, you should be able to fit it into this framework as well. And you will always have an error term. You will always have an amount that you can't explain. Because, I mean, nothing is precise. We're working on a consumption base that's also part of survey data. Okay, so can I close this? Okay, so please open up your tax effort Excel file. I want first of you, there it is. So you have to go to column B and then select all, and then you go to column C and then you select all the countries. Can you see there's all these countries? So if you see if you can open that, if you can open this little box. Because I want you to select your own country. Tell me if you've been able to do it, because we have got the same spreadsheet. So this is the World Bank country data. Do you see your country there? I've now selected South Africa. So see which country you can select. Okay, who hasn't been able to select their country? Everybody there? Are you there? Which your country? Isn't it there? There is at the bottom. There is Zimbabwe. Oh, you're Angola. South Sudan. Okay, let's see if it's there. There it is, just below South Africa. Okay, who else needs to find their country? Okay, so this is a database that's coming from the World Bank. So you are able to actually get, I think, perhaps a newer version than what we've got here. And so you'll see if you go down the line, it's got GDP per capita in constant terms, and it's all been made in US dollars because you want to compare the different countries. So you take out the currency values and you all make it what the parity to the US dollar. So you'll see is that, are you all with me? Are you still looking for your country? Okay, let's wait. Let them just get their country. Just go to the filter. Which country are you looking for? Malawi. It's all alphabetically. There's Malawi. Okay, so who's still looking for their country? Are you there? Okay. Okay, so if now you've got selected your country, and now you will see for a time period in South Africa, so this one is set up from 1980. So it's really a quite long series of data, but it's only up till 2020. You might check the database and see if there's a more updated version. Usually with these international databases, they do take a long time to update because they have to get the country data in. It needs to be conformed to be comparative, but there's nothing preventing you from setting this up and see if you can update it to a much closer year date. And then I think you might be able to use the ATO data to do that. I think you would be able to replicate the data that you need for your tax effort calculations in the ATO database. I just want to show you how this is made up. So you will now see your total revenue. It says there including Social Security. So it's just how they've put up this database. So Social Security in South Africa is very low. We don't have a big Social Security base, but they've included this here. And then, because it's always good to specify what revenue are you working with. You're working with only gross tax revenue, net tax revenue. Are you working with non-tax revenue included? or in this case, Social Security. And then they've only got tax revenue. Can you see they've got total revenue, including Social Security, and then they've only got tax revenue. And then they've got income taxes, personal income tax, CIT, taxes on goods and services. They've got value-added tax, but it's only from 1990 because we switched from a general sales tax to a value-added tax in 1991. And then excise taxes, trade taxes. Usually trade taxes are exports and imports. It's also a measurement of the openness of your economy because that impact on your ability to actually have a tax to GDP ratio. I see somebody is going like Noddy. Is there a problem, sir? No problem. Listen, go like this. I don't want us to lose anyone because of a silliness that I overlooked. If you ask me questions and then I remember, okay, I must remember to highlight this or highlight this. So please, if you see gaps, you must remember you're also helping the video. So all the participants that are coming after you might want to ask a question, and if you ask a question, it will help them as well. Okay. Okay, then social contributions and property tax. So they even have tax on a local government level or a provincial level and other taxes. And then they've also split it between direct and indirect taxes and total non-tax revenue. Tell me, did you know that the World Bank has got so much data on your country? And then every day you tell me, yeah, I can't find my data. So somebody must be compiling this database for the World Bank. Okay, country number. So they've also given each country a number. That's just how they sort their database. And then they also determine whether you're resource rich or not. So it's an index that has been put together that if you are resource rich, you'll see there's a number. If you're not resource rich, it will be a 0. So in this case, can you see it says yes, yes, yes? I think for most of you, you should have a yes. You agree with me? Because Africa is actually very gifted with a lot of resources. And then, are you oil and gas rich? Unfortunately, South Africa is not, so we've got to know. And then regional code. So they've placed South Africa in the Sub-Saharan Africa regional code. All of you should also be there, I'm sure. So the region is Sub-Saharan Africa, and listen, I'm not quite sure what the IDA stands for, but I'm going to, do you know what it stands for? Is it development aid? International development aid, thank you. Yes, I agree with you. And you'll see we don't get, so you can tell me if you've got development agency, international donor money, and then country name, and income group. So whether you're part of the upper income group, middle income group, low income group, so they also classify it according to that, because these are all the factors that having an impact on your ability to collect tax revenue and have a certain tax to GDP ratio. And then small states, it says no. For South Africa, we're only one state with provinces. And then there's like in the International Development Aid, IBRD, we have to go back to the documentation. I'm going to share the documentation with you, so please read through the article. This is just the Excel base. Okay, and then this is the GDP per capita. Now, in South Africa's got a very skewed distribution of income, so I would say is the GDP per capita is really a very poor measurement of our ability to collect taxes. And then it's got the LIN. You remember I talked about the log? So how do you get the log of a number? You just type in equal LN, and then you put it to the nominal value, and it will give you the log. Is there anyone that haven't done that before? Have you all done it? Okay. And then it's got the GDP current. We can go through this, but you can also do it in your own time. I just want to show you how rich the data is that are used for this, because it's a regression analysis that are done. So it's got your dependent variable, that's your tax to GDP ratio, and then it's got a lot of indicators to determine what should your tax to GDP ratio be, what is it currently, and where are you in that tax effort graph that I showed you. So you can see they also calculate buoyancy ratios here. Why do you think they do buoyancy ratios? It's like a coefficient. If you use log and you do a regression on log values, that percentage coefficient that you get there is the elasticity ratio. Okay. So you've got it for PIT, CIT, tax on goods and services, and value-added tax. So actually, if you want buoyancy ratios on your tax system for a very long period, because this is very long time series data, you would be able to actually access this database. And then excise taxes, trade buoyancy. So this is just, at the end, it's all the buoyancy ratios. Okay, so everybody's now got its country data. You've now seen your own data there that's captured from, does all your data start from 1980? Is there anyone that's got a different start date? And when does your end date? Is your end date also 2020? 2021. Okay, I see how we don't have data. So perhaps somebody slipped up to give the data. And it's also starting at 1980?
No. Yes, 1980.
Okay. I think they tried to build like a panel data with all the variables and then group it. Okay, so then you've got World 2019. So this is all the countries that you've seen that are there in the alphabet. So if you go down the alphabet, that is when we selected and you selected your country. So these are all the countries in the database with their country code and with the year of the data that we're looking at. And it will also then tell you what is the tax revenue, including security. Now you will see I've highlighted columns in yellow, and that is just because we're going to use it, tax revenue. And then we haven't used, for this example that I'm showing you, the income taxes or the personal income tax. And then you'll see as we went through all this, so it's just been put together for the whole world, all the data that we just went through for your country data in this one. So just another way of looking at the data. And then I think they've also got it here for Latin America, and they've got it for the regional. So they've got South Asia, Eastern Europe, Middle East, and then they should actually have one for Sub-Saharan Africa, or for Africa. So then they're just going to classify these countries into the regions. Just want to see what regions they have here. I think we're part of this. Yes, can you see I've color-coded it here for you? We're Sub-Saharan Africa. South Africa is Sub-Saharan. Can you check where are your country and are you classified in Sub-Saharan Africa? And then we're also going to use the LIN of GDP. Remember I showed you on the horizontal axis, we're using the log of GDP, and we use the tax to GDP ratio on the left-hand side. So here you can see the data. And can you see if you move to the right, it actually gives you for Sub-Saharan Africa the trade value, agriculture, democracy, and resource rich. So these are all indexes that have been put together on the data series. Okay, the next one we're going to do is Sub-Saharan Africa. So we've listed here Botswana, Cote d'Ivoire, Cameroon, the Democratic Republic, and then Congo Republic, and then Cape Verde, Gabon, Ghana, Kenya, Lesotho, Mauritius, Namibia, Nigeria, Sudan. I think this might be South Sudan. Not?
Sudan.
Is it Sudan? Okay. Aren't you listed in Sub-Saharan Africa?
Yeah.
Eswatini, South Africa, and Zambia. I also don't see Zimbabwe here.
Sierra Leone also
Is it here? Okay, so I mean, it says you can add more countries here, and it's just a summary of the data. Then, if you want to look at the SSA Sub-Saharan tax effort, you'll see it's been put together here with country codes and countries here. Oh, and so this selection, you need to actually just make sure that you include all the Sub-Saharan African countries here. And then if you look at what the data is that you're going to use for your regression, you are going to look at your tax to GDP, you're going to look at your log of GDP per capita, how resource rich your country is. It's a 1 if it's yes, and if it's a 0, it's no. And then you're also going to have a democracy. I think they took the democracy in a specific year, 2018 in this case. And then they're going to take the log of your agriculture sector, the log of your trade sector, and I've just added the two numbers here, so you'll see this is just the, and there you can see how the log is calculated. So just take the nominal amount and it put the LN in front, and then you can calculate the log of agriculture, because they use the log values for the independent variables, so that you can do the regression analysis. But unfortunately, if you don't have data, you can't use the regression analysis. So I've pinpointed here where there are no values. Somebody has said to me, but you can use an average, or you can see what value will be fit best if you want to include these countries in your regression analysis. So in the second table, I've excluded the countries. I haven't included them in this because there was like missing data. But there are ways that if you want to get data, or you want to simulate data for those values, if you want to include all the Sub-Saharan Africas. And then here's the regression analysis. I've just populated it there. And so who hasn't done a regression analysis in Excel? Have you all done a regression analysis in Excel? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to do the regression analysis. I haven't done it in a separate sheet. I've just put it on the same sheet. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So this is the regression analysis. It will tell you what is the R square, and it will also tell you the intercept coefficient. And you must remember I told you if you use the log values, it's like a buoyancy ratio. So this is like buoyancy ratios or coefficients. So you'll see for GDP per capita, you've got a coefficient. For resource rich, you've got a coefficient. For democracy, and you must remember this is now for all the countries that we have in this table. So this is the outcome of the coefficients or the buoyancy ratios for tax to GDP to these variables that we've chosen. And then you've got democracy, and you've got agriculture, and you've got trade. So how do you use this? What you just do is you go to the indicators. You remember I told you there's like indexes of whether you're resource rich or what is your GDP per capita in log form. So that is log GDP per capita. And this is resource rich, and this is whether you've got a democracy or not in 2018. This is your LN for agriculture, and this is your log for trade. And then all you're going to do is you're going to, for the intercept, you're just going to place the value there. But for all the others that got a coefficient, you're just actually going to multiply your coefficient with your indicator. For this case, it will be the log GDP per capita. And then you'll do this again for resource rich. So you'll take the resource rich coefficient and you will multiply it with the indicator, and you will get a value. And so for democracy as well, you get a value. And for agriculture, you will get a value. and for trade you'll get a value. If you add up all these values, you get your GDP per capita. So given Sub-Saharan Africa, the countries that we have chosen, given the coefficient or their buoyancy in total to these variables, and you apply for South Africa the indicators, this is for South Africa, and you apply those indicators, then I would say our tax to GDP ratio 16.45. Currently our tax to GDP ratio, we can ask the SARS people what they say it is. Over the long term, I know it's close to 25%, but currently it's like 26. Okay, so this is really very below what we say. So we say predicted is the 16.45. Our actual, what I've put in here, because this is the value that's in here, is 26.52. And our tax effort is then much higher. Because now you divide just what is your actual against your predicted, and that ratio just tells you the tax effort. Now you don't accept this number. You've now populated your sheet, you've put your data together, and you see a number. But it doesn't make sense to use this data. So first of all I can say is, you must remember, agriculture sector for Sub-Saharan Africa might be mainly on a subsistence basis. But in South Africa, we had a discussion with some of my previous colleagues at SARS last night, and they said it's because we've got like a more commercial farming, so that is more profitable. So that's one reason that we think that we should exclude agriculture from our calculations. I think also that if you look at South Africa, it might be that our per capita calculation, or because of our skewed distribution of income, is not really giving the true picture. So I would say we need to more refine this base and do more regressions before we can say we are happy with the outcome of this. But I want you to see if you could mimic this calculations for your country, and then share with us what you think, what is plausible or what is not plausible. So here you will see is that is the equation. So if you go here, you've got the intercept, and you plus that coefficient with that indicator, multiply with that indicator, and then you will, for resource rich, and then you will add the next, the democracy one, and you will add that, multiply it with the indicator, and then you get 18.36. So now there's no, we don't have trade in here, and we also don't have agriculture in here. So now we get a predicted of 18.36. Annually, we know we're at 26.52, so the tax effort seems to be more plausible at 144. But I think there's still work that needs to be done here. This is the tax effort of all. So if we done all of them, then we get to a tax effort of 15.77 for South Africa. You will just change the indicators here for your country. And then this is the database that was set up to regress the data. So you'll see it's a tax to GDP ratio is the dependent variable, and then these are all the independent variables. And I've done then the graph down here. So now you can see where South Africa is sitting. This is the mean. So this is the trend line, best fitted to all these countries, tax to GDP ratios. And South Africa's tax effort, like we've calculated now, is much higher than this mean for a given log GDP calculation. So if you go here to log GDP, if you just drop down here, you'll see is that we at 27%. But we're still not at our total capacity, because there are countries above us that is actually collecting more revenue for a given log GDP. So this is the frontier, what they say, this is the capacity. If you're below this red line, you're actually collecting less than what the mean is of all these countries. If you're above this trend line, then you are collecting more than this. So what you can do is that if for a given log GDP, you select your country, then you see what is the countries around you, what are their tax to GDP ratios, those that are above the mean and those that are below the mean. And then you go and look you've got the data, what is their variables, what do they collect from their taxes and from which taxes, so what is their tax policy. And so you have to get a sense of, is it that if you're below this line, is it because you are collecting less revenue because your rates are too low, your bases are too narrow, so you've got too many exemptions, so you've got big policy gaps? Or is it a policy issue, or is it a tax administration issue? So you need to know, by comparing with your peers on the same level of log GDP, what are you collecting in comparison with comparable countries, and where could you actually be? So if you say you are here and then you say, well, I'm striving to get to that tax to GDP ratio, but I would actually want to be up here. So what do I need to do to my tax policy and my tax administration to actually get to here? Because the economy is a given. Well, over time you can say, I'm going to spend more on education, and I'm going to increase our exports and imports, and I'm going to do this and this and this. But that is a different direction that you're not focusing on. You're focusing on, is my policy optimal for my tax to GDP ratio? Is my tax to GDP ratio less than my peers because I've got too low rates, I've got too many, my base is too narrow defined? Or is it because my compliance efforts are too low? I've got huge informal sector that I'm not taxing. I've got lots of taxpayers not filing. I've got lots of taxpayers not paying. I've got high outstanding debt. So you have to bring all that in context to able to say, well, this is my current tax to GDP ratio. This is where I should be in terms of this red dotted line. And then this is where my capacity is given what my log GDP is. Are there any questions? I haven't shared this with you, but this is the documentation. So please see if you can Google this. If you can't, I'll ask Anna to share it with you. Unfortunately, I haven't loaded all your emails on my computer. But if you can Google this, I Googled it last night. So you should be able to access it and download it. It's an IMF working paper, Understanding Countries' Tax Effort. So I think if you could actually read through this paper, use the techniques and the database that I've given you, and see if you would be able to actually add value by looking at your current tax to GDP ratio, where it should be compared to your peers, and where it could ultimately be if you've got all your ducks in a row. Does that make sense? Okay, who's below? Because we do have a little bit of time. So who's below the trend line? Anyone here? That has looked at their country? I can't actually get it bigger than this and it's off the line. We checked Benin's one last night. I think they had 7% or 11%, yeah? Yeah, you can see it. So they're far less than where they could be at 15, 16%. And then if you look at these countries, their outer one should be at about 20%. So they're currently at 11%. If they work on their compliance and their tax policy, they could end up at 20%. If you're looking at tax revenue mobilization for development efforts, you need these answers. You need this analysis and you need these answers, because you can't increase the tax to GDP ratio by having a magical wand. You have to act to get to it. One is through growth, economic growth, but it's also equally important to ensure that your tax policy mix, in terms of volatility, in terms of what you need in your country, in terms of your distribution of income and activities, and also your tax rates and how you define your tax basis. So it's a combination of everything that we've been talking of since Monday, and you should have a good understanding before you could actually do a tax effort analysis. I would be very grateful if you would attempt to do a paper on the tax effort of your country for a conference. There are papers that have been done on the tax effort in African countries, and that's also like a contribution, because it's going to force you to actually think about your tax to GDP ratio and how you can increase revenue mobilization. It's no use for politicians to say, well, listen, I don't want 11%, I think we want 30%. Is it realistic if you look at this? No, it's not realistic. What might be realistic is to look at 20%. But what will it take, except for growth and economic activities, for your current economic situation where you are and for the data that you do have? What will it take from policy changes and efforts to collect revenue to actually get to a higher tax to GDP ratio? Who wants to tell me where their tax to GDP ratio is, and if they're below the mean, why do they think that's the case? And if they're above, why do they think they're also above their peers? Is there anyone that want to share their country experience, or you want to do it Friday?
Can you see my country?
You want to do it Friday? You can't see your country. Okay, you must see if you can expand it more.
I've done that, but
You still can't see it. Do you know your country code?
yes, yeah.
What is your country?
Liberia.
Liberia. Now you should be able to see it. I know you can speak English.
We don't see it.
We mustn't joke, eh? Was it included in the SSA, in the regression graph that we did? Let me just...
Was it there?
Was it in there? Then it must be here. If it was there, it must be here. So this is the data sheet. So if it was here, it must be there. Perhaps we must just look careful. Did you see it?
No. Okay, yes.
LBR, there it is.
73. Line 73.
Do you see it? And what is your GDP? Just tell me what.
Line 73,
What is your log GDP? If you go to the database.
you see 73? Just come down a little bit.
It's L.
Yeah.
So it's,
There.
it's your tax to GDP is 12.6 and your log per capita GDP is 6.2. Okay, so now we know It's more or less here. And how much did we say? 12? How much is it? 12.6. So it's 12.6 should be here. So it should be somewhere here. So it seems you're almost on the line. Do you see it? Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. It will be your latest value. Okay. Yeah, it's there. Okay, so Liberia. So can you see, is you can now sit back and tell your minister, listen, don't worry, mister. Or is it a madam? Don't worry. We're there. We are where we should be. Our policies are right and our collection trends are okay. But if you want us to collect more, can you see there's nobody up here? So your frontier will have to be tested next door, but then you'll have to increase your per capita GDP to actually get to there. So it seems that your policy and efforts are in line with your per capita. So you have, if you want to increase your revenue, you will have to grow your economy.
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
So now you've got a paper.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay, are there anyone else? So we've got Liberia that's on the, so just go and look what is your country's per capita, GDP per capita, and then more or less what is your tax to GDP ratio, and you should find yourself on the chart. Is there anyone that couldn't find their country? Malawi. Yeah, so first thing you have to go and check whether it's in the data set. Is that your country code? MLI? This one? MMI, this one. W. MW. So it's not in here. So, okay, you have to include it and do the regression again. Okay. The data will be in the big data set. Okay. Sorry about that. Are there anyone else that's not in the data set? Zimbabwe. Well, we did get data on Zimbabwe. No, there's Zimbabwe. Is that Zambia? Oh, is that Zambia? Okay, sorry. Okay, then we'll have to include Zimbabwe as well. So it's Malawi and Zimbabwe that needs to come into this spreadsheet. So just go get your data, put it in this spreadsheet, but then you have to rerun your regression. Okay. Okay, are there any questions? Do you understand the framework? Would you be able to update it?
Yes, but I saw one number and I was struggling to know where it came from. I think is it the task effort? Total task effort. Task effort for all. Maybe you can go there. Can we go down? Yes, so how do we get that, the actual 26?
Okay, this is in the database for South Africa.
Oh, it's in the database?
Yeah, it's on this graph as well. So this is the actual. So if you go to this one, I've marked it as well.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, so it's these data points. So how much is it actually? How much is the data telling us it should be? And how much is your tax effort above it or below it? Okay. But I think for South Africa, the independent variables needs to be re-specified. I think it's more important for me that you understand the technique, that you will be able to apply it. You now know where the data is. You can update the data as much as you want. You can also decide which countries do you want to include in the regression analysis. Because I think that also makes a difference for South Africa. Okay, so see which countries you want to include, do the regression analysis, do those computations, you've got the indexes numbers, use the coefficients, calculate the tax to GDP ratio, what it's predicted it should be, how much is it currently, and how much is your tax effort there. It's not difficult, eh? Okay, we've come to 1 o'clock, so everything works out well. If we get back from lunch, you are going to do your practical exercises. I'm not quite sure how far you got with the exercises yesterday, but now you've got 3 more exercises to add to the ones that you've done yesterday, and it's all in a build-up for your presentations on Friday. And remember the slide that I showed you, that you have to focus on to actually do your analysis and the techniques that you are going to use. I would like you, each country, to use the techniques and the frameworks and the models that we've shared. Okay.